This program provides education, not advice. Sponsors pay a fee for endorsements and interviews. See the truthayf.com disclosure page for details.
This is where technology, innovation, and personal finance come together.
This is the truth about your future with Rick Edelman.
The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman is brought to you by Schwab. You want control of your financial future, and Schwab knows that. That's why when it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it most. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim, the powerful award-winning trading platforms. Plus, you'll get low costs, transparent pricing, and 24/7 live help. Because Schwab understands it's your financial journey, and they believe you should have choices in how you invest. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
It's Monday, August 26th. The oldest members of Generation X are going to be retiring over the next several years. If you're one of them, where are you going to live? Are you going to live in your current house? Are you going to move? And if so, to where? Down south where the weather's great? Or you want to stay close to the kids? Big decisions, big questions, huh? And since this is a podcast about the future, I want you to think now about this so you can begin to plan out where you're going to live in the future. 90% of Americans who are over the age of 65 live in their own home. So odds are pretty good you're going to want to keep doing that for as long as possible too. But the real question becomes, what's the nature of that house? Do you want a home that's just enough for you and your spouse or partner? Or do you want to have extra space so that you can take care of family, aging parents? It's pretty common for mom or dad to move in with you, or the in-law mom or dad to move in with you. But it's not just your aging parents who may need your help. If you're in your 70s and you have children, your children will be in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They may be encountering their own challenges. Bad marriage, lost job, damaged finances, perhaps drug or alcohol issues. Your adult children may need to move in with you. Or what about grandchildren? 10% of grandchildren in this country are being raised by grandparents. Do you want to have a house big enough to accommodate whatever member of the family might need your assistance? Parents, kids, grandkids? Or what about amenities? Do you want to live at a place that's got hiking trails and pickleball courts? Do you want a home that has a shower instead of a bathtub? You need to start thinking about all of this right now and having conversations with the members of your family about how does everybody feel about where everybody wants to live. I remember my parents at one point sent me and my brothers a letter. And this letter, very thoughtfully crafted on the part of my mom and dad, was very clear. Under no circumstances, they said, will we live with any of you. At first, the reaction was, well, why not? What's wrong with me? But then we, of course, got their point. They didn't want to be a burden to us. Having gone through caregiving with all four of my grandparents, my mom and dad were adamant they were not going to be a burden to us. So if they couldn't continue to live independently, they would move into assisted living or a full-blown nursing home. And they were adamant they weren't going to live with us. They set the rules. We had to abide by them. You should be setting rules yourself. Do you want to live near brothers, sisters, in-laws? Do you want to live near parents, near children and grandchildren? Or do you deliberately want to live as far from them as possible? I had a really good friend, and she was adamant. She said, I'm moving to Florida. I'm very happy to be with my grandkids, but there's no way I'm going to be their babysitter. That's not the retirement future I had in mind. Others are like, I'm virtually moving in with my daughter so I can be with those grandkids as often as possible. There's no right or wrong here. It's all personal preference, but you've got to coordinate it with the other members of the family. And that might mean you want not just your current house with 3 bedrooms, you might want a house with 8 bedrooms and have housemates, and they might not even be relatives. This is something that's happening these days where baby boomers are being called boom mates rather than roommates. Intergenerational housemates, where you have people of all kinds of ages living together communally under one roof where you share everything. The meals, the laundry, the chores, you name it. Or you might want to take your attitude of saying, I'm going to turn my house into a duplex, or I'm going to build a private suite. We used to call it an in-law suite, but this private suite, we're going to rent out to even a total stranger, generate some passive income, or even put an ADU in the backyard, an accessory dwelling unit, a complete standalone property, maybe 500 or 700 square feet, that has its own little bedroom, living space, and kitchenette. In fact, there are now even companies that will pay you to do this. A company called Build Casa will pay you up to $400,000 to subdivide your lot so they can plunk one of these ADUs in your backyard and rent them out. Now, all of that reflects the variety of options that are available to you, but one thing to keep in mind, all of these options presume that you've got the money to take advantage of them. But if things go badly, if you aren't properly planning for your eventual retirement, you could end up with no home. We'll continue our conversation on this and more in 60 seconds. Stay with us for more here on The Truth About Your Future.
How should you think about Bitcoin? Turn to a specialist. For 6 years, Bitwise has been helping investors access crypto. Bitwise manages the world's largest crypto index fund. They also offer 6 crypto ETFs. You get cutting-edge insights, expert Bitcoin research, and a nationwide team to help. Bitwise helps investors and advisors navigate crypto with confidence. Partner with a specialist. Look for ETFs backed by Bitwise. BitwiseInvestments.com. Carefully consider the extreme risks associated with crypto before investing.
In New York City, 1,700 people who are over the age of 65 are living in shelters. That's an all-time high, double what it was in 2014. And the share of people 65 plus living in shelters is rising 3 times faster than all the other age groups. There are now, of all the people living in shelters in New York City, 8% of them are over the age of 65. There are over 300,000 people on waiting lists for affordable apartments in New York, affordable apartments that are reserved for people over the age of 62. This is something to consider because by the end of this year, the youngest baby boomers will be 60 years old. All told, the boomer generation is 70 million people, 1 out of 5 Americans. The oldest boomers are 79. And millions of these boomers have no savings. Half have less than $250,000. That's only enough to generate, you tell me, how much money can you generate out of $250,000? 10 grand a year with any hopes of the money not running out? So $1,000 a month? Not too many people can afford to live on $1,000 a month. You add another $2 grand a month from Social Security. This is why so many boomers are finding themselves forced to continue working. Fine, as long as your health allows you to do that, or the health of your spouse, because if your spouse needs help, you're going to have to quit to be a caregiver. Now, if you've got friends and family to rely on, great. But if not, it means you're facing a shelter or being homeless. 40% of baby boomers will not be able to maintain their standard of living once they retire. If you're one of the Gen Xers, look to your boomer elders as evidence of the life they have based on their level of preparation, based on the choices they've made in their life, and decide if you're following the right path or not. Hey, I want to tell you about a webinar we have coming up. This is all about the new coming interest rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. Everybody's expecting those rate cuts to occur soon, and we are now entering a fundamentally different economic environment than we've had in recent years. For the first time in years, interest rates will be coming down. So are you ready to seize the best investment opportunities in this evolving market? If you're a financial advisor, are you ready for the adjustments to your client portfolios you might want to make? The seminar is going to be on Wednesday, September 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be joined by Jerome Schneider from PIMCO, the world's largest bond fund manager. And we're going to talk with you about how to adjust client portfolios, figuring out how much cash you ought to have in your account, and a deep dive into the new fixed income opportunities. It's going to be a really fun and informative webinar Wednesday, September 11th. Register now for free. The link's in the show notes. If you're an advisor, you get 1 CE credit. I hope to see you there. I'm glad you're with me here on The Truth About Your Future. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to follow and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. And remember, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I read them all. Never miss an episode of The Truth About Your Future. Follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. I'll see you tomorrow.
Increased awareness and actionable intelligence about the forces that are shaping our world.
This is The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman.